Oh hey bae, will you marry me? Just kidding, this isn't that kind of video. This video is for a solo board game date night just for you. A solo game for every price point. First, let's see the games. Cue the music.
Last night I was dreaming out loud. California sun was making my eyes dry. Next year in the winter, let's give it a try. I'll keep on dreaming out loud tonight. Summer's over and you still haven't called me back. We're just getting older. Soon enough it'll be too late to act. Let's do it again. Let's ride on that way.
Let's sit somewhere just a little more intimate. Grab yourself your favorite adult beverage. I'm a big fan of the 10-year Juicy Juice myself. And let's start with our first game. This one is new to me, but proved to be a real gem. I'd argue to say it could even fight for a solo board game of the year. Paperback Adventures. This is designed by Tim Fowers and published by Fowers Games. This is a solo-only game with a cooperative option. In Paperback Adventures, you play as the writer Paige Turner. You get to delve into one of the heroes or heroines of her novels. You fight against different baddies, minions, and then of course the big old boss at the end, all using the power of spelling and words. Doesn't sound like your kind of thing? Hold on, let me tell you a little more about it. Play Paperback Adventures, you're gonna need to buy at least two things. The core box, which has mostly everything you need, and then of course a feature box, where you have your hero. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna focus on Damsel. You lay it out by placing your hero and of course, your villains that you're fighting against. The villains are randomly selected. You're going to go through a series of 3, if I remember correctly. Maybe it's 4, it's probably 3. 2 of them are going to be henchmen minions, smaller boss battles. You beat both of those and you go on to the big baddie. You beat him and you win the game. There's going to be an item market where you're going to be able to purchase cards throughout this game. That's right, this is a deck builder where you can thin out cards and gain cards. Some of those items are actually letters and abilities, and I'll explain why, but some of them are special items like potions that let you do special things to help you survive. You do have HP, and so does your enemy. You defeat them by taking away all of their HP. How do you attack? You attack by building words in your hand. You're going to take your cards and try to spell a word. Fan them out to the right, you're probably going to be focusing on attacking. If you fan them out to the left, you're probably going to be focusing more on defending. Maybe in the villain's turn, he's going to have a big attack, and you're just preparing yourself for it. Every letter card has its own series of icons that either attack or defend or do something else special. Some bosses get quite complex in that they require that you have certain letters in every word in order for it to be used to attack them. Just like any good RPG, you're allowed to use curses or buffs or debuffs, whatever you want to call them, to apply to your enemy. Unfortunately, they can do that to you too. So the way around works is you lay out cards from your hand to spell a word, then you apply the effects from the icons on those cards to attack your enemy. Then your enemy gets a turn to attack you. Following a series of these, once you defeat one of the villains, you get to go to the shopping phase, upgrade your cards, get new items, and get ready for the next fight. Don't like Damsel? There are plenty of other hero boxes for you to select from. These run around $30 per box. This gem of a video is sponsored by Cape Fear Games, my local game store in Wilmington, North Carolina. If you're ever in the area, by all means, please come by and visit. You're able to use a special promotion code, BoardGames4One, all word. I'll put it on the screen here in order to purchase some of the games featured here online. I'll put a direct link to each game that's available. Good thing for you, if you're within the continental United States, you get free shipping. You also get 10% off. I'm going to show you another secret gem. This runs around $31. This is Maquis. That's how I pronounce it. Different people pronounce it different ways. It's French. What am I going to say? I think it's French. I don't know. Published by Sideroom Games. Who's the designer? Jake Staines. This fantastic little dynamite in a box allows you to play as the resistance against a Nazi invasion during World War II. It takes place over 15 days or 15 rounds, and you have 2 randomly selected missions that are going to be different in every game that you must complete in order to win that game. It's largely worker placement or pick up and deliver. What you do during your turn is you get to place your workers on various locations on the board in order to help you get closer to accomplishing your mission. But here's the thing. There are police officers that are sympathizers to the Nazis, and then there are the soldiers themselves who are much harder. And here's the deal. You've got to get your workers to a location, but you got to make sure that they can make it back home at the end of the day. So what you do is you place your worker, and then you draw a card and it tells you where to place one of those police officers, or even worse, one of the soldiers. If they block the path so that there is no way for your worker to get home, you're in trouble. They get captured and you now are down a worker for the rest of the game. You are able to collect items like weapons, so if your worker is trapped, you could fight for your life and defeat that cop and make it back home. You cannot defeat the soldiers. However, violence isn't the best solution in this game. Really what you want to do is you want to plan your worker placement so that you create a safe chain of a route in order to get the job done. But remember, the clock is ticking, so you can't make the perfect route like you might want to do. All the different locations grant you different abilities or items to collect. You can trade those items in at different locations if you deliver them there to get super items. At least that's what I call them, in order to help you survive. Maquis, this is a solo-only game. Next up, we've got another fantastic solo-only game, though it does have a 2-player versus option. We're not focusing on that tonight, because this is our date night all by ourselves. We've got Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. This runs close to $60. The Dark Knight Returns takes you through 3 replayable missions. That may not sound like a lot, but with the variability of replaying each time, this game has near-endless replay value. Straight up front, some people aren't a fan of the save system. I will say it's cumbersome, really didn't bother me much. But know that going into it, if you're not able to finish a whole game and you need to save it, you may have a little bit of work coming back to it later. You get to play as Batman, but don't worry, even though you're playing solo, in the game you're not alone. You're going to have companions helping you out. You're going to have Commissioner Gordon and Robin, some of our favorites, helping us beat these evil villains, big names like Two-Face and Joker. And of course, what is Batman without vehicles? You've got all the rides. Play the game. You're going to be moving around on a changing map of Gotham City. That's right, I said changing, because you use a marker to write on it just like you would a whiteboard in order to create new paths. You're also able to write in special bonus abilities on certain locations of your choice. First thing you're going to do is travel around to collect clues in order to find the villain that you are looking for. Let's say it's Two-Face for book 1. Once you collect enough clues, then you're able to get to the location of that villain and have a final battle. Defeat them and congratulations, you've won that mission. Move on to the next. Depending on how well you do in that first mission, that's going to give you some special bonuses for the next one. Again, no play is going to be exactly the same. While you're collecting clues and going up to fight against the big baddie, you're going to be running into mutants that are getting in your way. You're going to have to fight them off, but they just keep populating that board. You've also got the police getting in your way and those pesky journalists always causing you trouble. So be strategic in how and where you move and how you use your friendly companions and your vehicles. You take actions from a deck of cards. You take so many in your hand, you play the card, you do what it says, you move around the board. You have a special tool belt with these special dice. Now some people hate these dice, so let me give you this ahead of time. You cannot roll them like normal dice because they're shaped like batarangs. You have to roll them in a special way. Didn't bother me at all. I found it thematic. If you like the roll of regular dice, this might not be for you. You're able to upgrade abilities by completing special tasks. They are completely optional, but if you don't upgrade at least some, you simply will fail. I have a tutorial and a complete playthrough up if you would like to learn more. My apologies ahead of time. That was back when I was using music in the background, and it's just a little bit too loud, but you can still learn how to play Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. I want to give some honorable mentions that I'd like to talk about a little more in the future, but as it is, I just haven't gotten to look into these enough. However, we've got right here a classic. Friday, you get to play as Robinson Crusoe's helper trying to survive, and I do believe it is a deck builder where you are filling your hand in order to not only survive, but face off against some pirates in the end. Take a look at this one in the future. And also, For Northwood just recently came out from Sideroom Games, the same ones that did Maquis and the Family Meeple. She's got a great cover of this. So I'd recommend you go over to that video. If I can find it, I'll put the card right above. For Northwood, a solo trick-taking game. I'm intrigued. Let's take a look at Castellion. I talked a little bit about this in a previous video for board games that I have been playing this summer. A little more detail over there. Castellion is part of the Honorum universe, a whole series of solo board games with some cute artwork. We're all facing off against this impending evil darkness that's coming, but really, this is a tile placement game where you are laying tiles to build a fortress in order to meet up against 3 different ordeals. One of those is randomly chosen every time. The other 2 come with the difficulty level that you choose to play. Easy, medium, hard, something like that. Then it comes with the kitchen pantry expansion, which makes it ridiculously hard. I haven't even tried it yet. There's a little bit of push your luck. What you have is you have a couple different stacks of tiles. You have a safe stack, which has a very limited number, and then another of not so safe tiles. You're going to draw a tile, flip it over, and then you're going to place it in your fortress. You have to lay a foundation first, so that's going to be 6 in a row across the bottom. You can also build up. The only rule is that the tiles have to touch each other. Also, you cannot have 2 shapes touching each other. You can have different types of tiles, so there are different character types, pyros, things like that. As you play the more advanced levels, every single tile not only has a shape to build, but it also comes with a special ability. So when you draw that tile, if you choose not to place it, you discard it to the side. If you choose to discard, you get to use the special ability that is attached to that particular tile that you chose to discard. This is going to help you make certain shapes that will satisfy the requirements of each ordeal. Each ordeal is just a requirement as an architect of building a certain fortress with certain features, which means shapes. It has to have a square, rectangle, whatever. Each ordeal will walk you through it. Once you satisfy the first ordeal, then you move on to the second ordeal, and finally the third. If you've made a fortress that satisfies that third ordeal, congratulations, you win the game. Downside is, whenever you flip one of the tiles from the unsafe pile, where you'll be most of the time, there's always a chance to pull up a baddie. You pull up one of these baddies and you have to place it to the side. You get enough baddies and you're forced to the end of the ordeal. If you have not satisfied the requirements of that fortress by the time you flip over enough of those baddies, you lose the game. If you did, congratulations, move on to the next ordeal. Castellion runs about $20 to $25. It's designed by it's designed by Shady Torby, and it is published by Impatience Games. Under Falling Skies, basically Space Invaders has a board game with a whole lot more there. That really is an oversimplification. It runs about $28, 1 player only. It is published by Czech Games Edition, and it is designed by Thomas Uller. Forgive the pronunciation, please. This lovely little game actually comes with a story campaign complete with a comic book and different characters that you get to play as with special abilities. The choices you make during one play of one section of that campaign affect how easy or hard the next section of that campaign is going to be. You will never be able to see everything in one playthrough of the campaign. It'll be a little different each time. As far as mechanics, this is a dice rolling, dice placement game. What you have is you have a bunker. You're going to roll some dice and you're going to be placing dice in that bunker to trigger certain abilities. It could be attack, defense, building, something else. Meanwhile, after you place your dice, there's a big old alien ship up top, and they're going to be dropping spaceships that are going to be lowering down to your fortress. If those space invaders get down to your fortress, they cause damage. Take enough damage and you lose the game. What you have to do is accomplish the mission objective. Each turn alternates between you placing your dice and taking your action and the invaders invading you. You're going to be digging deeper down into your fortress with each turn, and the alien invaders are going to be coming closer. But not only that, the mother ship is going to be dropping down closer every time, increasing the tension. This is a real brain-burning puzzle. If you're not into dice placement, this might not be for you. You don't have to play the campaign, you can just play standalone missions. You get to pick different cities that have different style bunkers to vary the gameplay. Each of the cities also comes with a different challenge level, so you can start a little easier and increase the difficulty as you get better. I never got better. Still waiting on that. Another solo game by Friedman Freeze, the same designer as Friday, and this is called Finished. This is a 48-card solitaire game. I talk a little more about it again in my video on what I've been playing this summer, so check it out over there. In Finished, you are trying to get all of the cards sorted in order from 1 to 48. The theme is that you're an office worker trying to make it through the day. Game plays in up to 8 rounds. Each round is symbolized by a cup of coffee. When you get to the end of a round, you have to discard a cup of coffee. Once you run out of coffee, if you didn't get all the cards in order from 1 to 48, you lose the game. Sorry. Each turn, you're going to have up to 3 rows of cards. You're going to have the present, the past, and the future. You're going to lay some cards in the present. If one of those cards is the number 1, you're going to put it in a pile. Then you're going to wait until you draw the number 2. Whenever the number 2 comes out, you're going to put it in the pile. You have to get all the cards discarded in this order. In order to help you do that, you're able to plan ahead by placing some cards in the future that will come back into your present later. You're also going to be forced to put your cards that are in the present that you haven't used into the past. Once they're done in the past, then they go into a discard pile, taking you closer to the end of a round. It is possible to use certain abilities to take cards from the past back into the present. How do you use special abilities? Well, each card that you lay down might have a candy token. It's either going to give you candy, or it's going to require that you spend candy in order to use the special ability on that card. This helps you plan and sort the deck in such a way that you're able to get the cards to come out in the order that you want. You get all 48 cards together before the end of the game. Congratulations, you win. You then get to flip through the deck, and the deck actually has a little sketchbook art story for you to view. Finished runs around $15 to $20. Finished. You're looking for a little more of a narrative experience with a little bit of suspense? We've got Hostage Negotiator. It wouldn't be a solo board game date night without Hostage Negotiator, published by Van Ryder Games and designed by, I'm pretty sure it's Porfirio. A.J. Porfirio, could be wrong, hope I pronounced it right. In a Hostage Negotiator, you play as the negotiator, using conversation cards to try to talk a baddie out of doing something terrible. They have taken hostages, and they're going to start hurting them if you don't talk calmly and smoothly to accomplish your mission. The base game comes with 3 different abductors. Each one plays differently and has a different objective that you must meet in order for them to turn themselves in and free the hostages. Too many hostages get killed and you lose the game. Each round you're going to have a market of conversation cards that you're going to be able to buy by spending time. So you want to collect time wisely. You're going to spend it to collect the conversation cards that will best help you to talk down the current abductor. You're going to play those cards and then you have to roll some dice as a skill check to see how successful you are. You might completely fail, but that's okay, because you have the option of discarding cards, sacrificing their abilities in order to ensure certain successes. After you've played your round and hopefully taken the tension down with the abductor, then you have to flip over the terror deck, which means something awful is going to happen to get in your way. You get to react to that in your next round by again purchasing more conversation cards, playing what's in your hand, sacrificing what you have to, and rolling those dice. Key to winning is luck mitigation through sacrificing your cards. If you don't like dice, this isn't going to be for you. Hostage Negotiator. If you really enjoy this, there are some expansions. There's the Crime Wave expansion that introduces a whole host of new abductors and cards. You can also buy individual abductor packs. I believe there's up to 12 of them. Could be totally wrong on that. And finally, if you want this to be a campaign game, you can buy the Career Expansion, which follows the life of your hostage negotiator from when you first start all the way to the end of your career. All kinds of crazy things happen in your personal life, in your marriage, and at work. If you're into that, check it out. Hostage Negotiator. Maybe for your date night, you're looking more for something a little scary. Maybe a scary movie night. That's where we have Final Girl. Final Girl gets featured a lot, but that's for good reason. Final Girl is based on Hostage Negotiator, runs around the same price. It's about $18 or so for the core box, and similar to Paperback Adventures, you're going to have to buy another box to play the game. Instead of heroes, what you have are feature film boxes. Same idea. You're able to buy several different feature film boxes that come with a Final Girl and with a killer. The killers and the final girls are interchangeable among all the different games. So you can change locations with killers, with final girls, endless combinations based on how many you want to get. Each one runs about $20. This is a solo-only game published by Van Ryder Games, and it's designed by AJ Porfirio and, I always say this backwards, Evan Derrick, and a whole host of other designers helping on each of the feature films. If you're not into scary movie themes, this is absolutely not going to be for you. I prefer Series 2. There's Series 1 and Series 2 that is currently out. Series 3, I believe, is coming to Kickstarter soon. Series 2 has a little more creature feature to it. Series 1 is more very, very scary people doing terrible things. Play Final Girl, you choose your Final Girl, she has a certain amount of health, and you choose your killer. They have a certain amount of health. In order to win, you need to defeat that killer. You're gonna lose if you run out of health. You've got friends and boyfriends and whatever else running around being stupid, getting killed. You try to save them. If you save them, you get special abilities. If you don't save them, bad things can happen. You're able to run around on a location map to collect items to help you in your battle. But as you run around, the hunter is chasing you down, so the more time that goes on, the stronger they get. You're always trying to balance defeating them quickly or waiting to encounter them when you're fully prepared. There is a decent amount of swing in this game, and what I mean by that is, within each game, you can mitigate the luck. Between games, one game might be much more difficult than the other based on the random cards that are drawn to form your terror deck and also to form your villain's deck. The villain is going to have some special finale ability that's randomly chosen for each game. Most of them are fairly similar in their awfulness, but certain terror decks combined with certain finales can be quite awful. There are also dark power abilities that are randomly chosen. You might never draw one, or you might. That can truly affect the swing of how challenging a game is going to be. Within the game, this is very similar to Hostage Negotiator, where you have a hand of cards. You're able to buy new cards, which are abilities like run, fight, things like that, by spending time. You're also able to collect time by your card abilities. Similar to Hostage Negotiator, when you play a card, you're going to roll a certain amount of dice. The amount of dice you can roll depends on your terror track, or I guess it's called a horror track. Whatever. The lower you are on the track, the more dice you get. The higher you are on the horror track, the less dice you get. Pretty bad. So you play your cards, you roll your dice, see whether you were successful or whether you failed. You're always able to sacrifice cards in order to help your successes. So that is a key strategy to winning almost any game of Final Girl, is sacrifice those cards left and right. You're also able to sacrifice cards to buy time, and this is a key winning feature. Anytime I've won, I've sacrificed many cards to buy time, to buy one big ability, and then go boom. And congratulations, you just might win. But most of the time, you're just gonna die. Be okay with that. Final Girl. Hey, if you found some helpful titles here for your solo board game date night, be sure to give a like and also subscribe in order to see future videos where we go into more detail with some reviews, sometimes playthroughs, and even tutorials. Hey, share with your friends too. Well, it's time for me to go and play a game of my own. I love you all. I'll see you next time.